Alrighty, folks, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Wicked for Good. It was so great. I got to see it a couple days ago, and this is going to be my spoiled review and kind of reaction to the film. So let's jump right into it. I already talked about how great the performances were, and the costumes, like the dance sequences, like all that other fun stuff. But we'll kind of start at the beginning of the film. So, in the beginning of the film, we see the yellow brick road being paved, like quite literally. So, we see a few horned beasts strapped to this like big machine, laying the actual bricks of the yellow brick road. So, what we know about the animal cruelty as a theme, like within the film, they don't have anyone to advocate for them, which is intentional because the animals in Oz, most of them can speak. And so they are paving the road. We see the treatment of them by some of the like sort of royal guards that are overseeing all of the development in the land. Then out of nowhere comes Elphaba, right? So we saw in the last film, and we'll see more in this one, that the activism is really, really important to her. This is a real thing for her, and if nobody else is going to speak up for the animals, she's going to do it. So she gets into a really, really intense fight scene, which I thought was really great, really cleverly done too. And that's kind of our first introduction into the film. So right at the beginning, we see where Elphaba has been, or we at least get a feel for it, right? She knows now all like what she has to do. So from there, we go to the other side of town to Emerald City, where we find Glinda officially in her capacity, signing off on things. She's walking through, and we later find out that she's like an official at the city or at Emerald City. We find out that she's working with Madame Morrible and the Wizard. Obviously, it alluded to it in part one, but now it's like official. So this was really cool to see. We see Fanay played by Bowen Yang, and then Shen Shen played by Bronwyn James. Just kind of reprising their roles. And she goes in to have a quick little conversation with Madame Morrible. Now, one of the things that we know is that they haven't seen each other in quite some time. So Elphaba's been off doing her own thing. Glinda's been off doing her own thing. So we are kind of seeing a little bit of the inside of what goes on at the actual Emerald City. Glinda meets up with Madame Morrible. Madame Morrible lets her know, hey, Elphaba's attacks are getting a lot stronger. We've got to come up with a way to eradicate that. Now, you kind of see Glinda, kind of take a little bit of haste to that because that's still her friend. And even though they haven't seen each other in a while, she still cares for her. I mean, that's still like her friend. But you kind of see okay. After this, Madame Morrible makes an announcement to the people of Emerald City. And then we jump into our first song, Every Day More Wicked. So this is an extension of No One Mourns the Wicked. Now, as we know, like Stephen Schwartz composed all of the songs and wrote all those lyrics very beautifully. So they can kind of blend into one another, which I thought was really, really important. Because again, I wasn't familiar with the play at all. I hadn't seen it. So thought that this was great. All of the extras, the backup dancers, did a really good job of selling the story. Another thing that was really scenically, I guess, beautiful or cinematically was there's a line in Wicked Part 1 where Glinda puts a rose in Elphaba's hair and tells her, pink and green go really good together. And this moment was a callback because as they're singing the praises of Glinda being officially Glinda, or working towards being Glinda the Good, they're singing what they're gonna like, how to protect themselves from the Wicked Witch, excuse me. And in the scene, you see pink posters of Glinda and then the green posters, and both of them are depicted as good and evil, respectively. So again, like the lines have already been drawn like pretty early on. This is an extension of No One Mourns the Wicked. Now, as we know, like Stephen Schwartz composed all of the songs and wrote all those lyrics very beautifully. So they can kind of blend into one another, which I thought was really, really important. Because again, I wasn't familiar with the play at all. I hadn't seen it. So thought that this was great. All of the extras, the backup dancers, did a really good job of selling the story. Another thing that was really scenically, I guess, beautiful or cinematically was there's a line in Wicked Part 1 where Glinda puts a rose in Elphaba's hair and tells her, you know, pink and green go really good together. And this moment was a callback because as they're singing the praises of Glinda being officially Glinda, or trying working towards being Glinda the Good, they're singing what they're gonna like, how to protect themselves from the Wicked Witch, excuse me. And in the scene, you see pink posters of Glinda and then the green posters, and both of them are depicted as good and evil, respectively. So again, like the lines have already been drawn like pretty early on. All right, then next up, Glinda is to make her official announcement at or in Munchkinland. Now, another really important part of this is they have completed the laying of the yellow brick road. So now all roads will lead to the wizard. Again, like a very like strategic move by the powers that be. So Glinda's there. She's there with Fiyero, played by Jonathan Bailey. And during this announcement, Madame Morrible not lets it slip, right? It was intentional, but lets the audience know, hey, like you guys, they're engaged, like, which is great. And I guess fine, because Fiyero sure as hell didn't know. But we then step into Thank Goodness or I Couldn't Be Happier. Another important part, right within that song, the people of Munchkinland are talking about all of the things and all of the rumors being spread about Elphaba, like how she has a third eye that sees everything and all this stuff. And you can tell that it does kind of take a little bit of a toll on Glinda. So she and Fiyero kind of step away to have a little chit chat. And, you know, Fiyero is at a point where he just wants to do the right thing. But he's pretty strong in his convictions too, because he knows it's wrong. He knows that also Glinda can't really resist the power. She even asks him, well, who could? And he says, well, you know who could. And so they have their little moment. And then out of nowhere comes Elphaba through the clouds. Now, if you remember from The Wizard of Oz, the message in the sky wrote, kill Dorothy. Which is fine, because technically The Wizard of Oz is like a different like thing. Same characters, but like, if it makes sense. In Wicked for Good, the message reads, our wizard lies. And because that's what Elphaba's trying to do. She's trying to get everybody to understand, like, hey, like, I'm not just some like green lady flying around on a broom. Like, I'm trying to do the right thing. And there's a certain someone in a high tower who is not. And Madame Morrible, played by Michelle Yeoh, she has the most beautiful hand movements, but she takes the message that Elphaba wrote within the clouds and changes it to Oz dies. And Elphaba, kind of not noticing it until like a moment after it was done, she's just like, oh, cool. Like, I done burst through these goddamn clouds to tell y'all that the wizard ain't shit. And then this lady, with all her beautiful hand movements, completely misconstrues the message on purpose to keep people in the dark. And they all, you know, they're all scared. They all freak out, all this fun stuff. But Fiyero and the Green Guards, well, that's what I've been calling them, but the Emerald City, like, Legion, they chase after Elphaba, chase her into the woods. They can't find her. And so, well, I think Fiyero knew where she was hiding. The rest of them couldn't see her, but I think that he saw her. But anywho, the flying monkeys are after her. Chistry is like, that's like the main monkey, I guess. But he's like, no, there's something about that green lady, which I'll touch on in a minute. We find Elphaba back in the woods. where she's kind of been living. So it's a part of like who she is, especially now. We know that her powers are probably like pretty natural to her, right? And I think the Broadway play follows the same length of time as like the original book by Gregory Maguire, but I think it's like 3 years after she is university, if I'm not mistaken. But she's been within nature for a while now, and like I said, she's been practicing so much. But her convictions are still the same. She wants to get the word out to people that the wizard has been lying. And it was just, I thought it was a really good job. Like little subtle things, little sudden facial expressions, or little hand gestures that Cynthia Erivo made. I think really sold a beautiful story. And then the next song, this song is one of the newer songs actually that Stephen Schwartz added. No Place Like Home, which again, I mean, it's Cynthia Erivo. She's gonna do a beautiful job. So she sings No Place Like Home really beautifully. There are two other songs that were new that I didn't know about, so we'll get into those later. But Cynthia Elphaba gets to reunite with Nessa Bear or Dasa Bear. I said Nessa Bear because I'm like jumping ahead. Y'all know who Nessa Rose is. That's where my head went. Cynthia Elphaba gets to reunite with Dasa Bear. And she's really trying to appeal to the animals because they've all kind of been cast out. They don't have a place to go. And even worse than that, a lot of the animals are losing their language. So there's just not a lot that they can do. So again, I thought that the No Place Like Home was a really beautiful addition. Yeah, I thought she did a great job. Also, we see the Cowardly Lion, who is voiced by Coleman Domingo, who kind of tells a tale of her kid cubnapping when he was a cub. And you just see a moment where she immediately reflects and takes responsibility for what she's done. That is a really important thing, too, because we know old girl, Glinda, she's not the best at taking accountability. She wants to do what looks like the right thing, but, you know, it's always going to fit what she needs to further herself socially, which is also one of her strengths. But really great job with the song and just that little addition with Coleman Domingo. I didn't know he did any voice work, so good job. And then from there, you know, we have to go to or back to the city of Oz because she's trying to appeal to people and she knows that she can talk to somebody, right? She has to talk to somebody. She's going to talk to Nessa. So Nessa is the governor after their dad, Frex, passes away. So she figures, I'm going to go appeal to my sister, right? But a little bit before Elphaba goes back to visit, well, not back because it's been a while, but before Elphaba goes to visit Nessa Rose, we see Bach in his gear. He works alongside Nessa, and to my understanding, they are in a relationship, but not really. It doesn't seem the healthiest. It doesn't seem the most fun and loving. And she's very cold. Now, we do later hear her officially call herself the Wicked Witch of the East. That was also a new song added to the movie. Marissa Bodie did a really great job there as well. But in the meeting earlier with Bach and Nessa, Bach tells her that he has to follow his heart and he has to kind of just take a step away. And, you know, he lets her know, hey, this won't be the last time we see each other. And she says, oh, yeah, I know, because you ain't going nowhere. So next we see Bach on his way with his little luggage and his little, weirdly colored suit. Shout out to Paul Tazwell because the costuming is, so fantastic. And his little quirky hat was super cute. But he's going to the train station to leave, and he finds out that he has to have a travel permit because he's a munchkin. And he turns around. Now, in the initial scene, you see a sign that's blurred out, so you can't really read it. We find out that not only can animals not leave Oz without a permit, that munchkins can no longer leave Oz without travel permission. which is like literally she put that in act like right after the conversation that she had with Black, which is like, oh, okay, cool, like fuck off, Nessa. But anyway, we cut a little further. Elphaba's going to see Nessa, and within their conversation too, they both make it very clear that they may have needed the other one, or may have needed love and support from the other one, but they knew that the lines had been drawn between them as well, and that even back at Shiz, I mean, Nessa and Elphaba weren't necessarily that close. Elphaba did everything that she could for her, and it just gets to a point where, hey, I need help from you because you're a governor now. And Nessa hastily is like, well, I need you now. So despite the fact that she like never needed anything or never said that she needed anything from her sister, Nessa says to Elphaba, well, I need you now. Which I'm like, okay, like you couldn't need anything from me. Although Elphaba didn't see their dad before he passed or while he was passing away, it makes total sense. He hated Elphaba. Like, he hated her in the book, he hated her in part 1, and I'm pretty sure he hated her in every stage play. But, Nessa's only response is, oh, what a wicked thing to say. Which is like, no, it's the truth. Like, that man did not like me. Anywho, Nessa then says, well, I just want to feel like I felt back at the Ozdeath, like that night. And because Elphaba has, like, studied the Grimoire, it kind of opens for her, right? Not randomly. It opens for her because she's been reading it. And she chants and chants. And next thing you know, Nessa's like, oh my God, my feet are burning. The shoes are burning. And she's floating in the air. And she's carefree. And she's happy. And is floating. Then we hear a little barge in the door, just like Bach knocked. And then open the door and sees her floating. He sees Elphaba. Tells her to stay back, which is like, Bach, shut up. Like, Elphaba's not the bad guy, which I'm a little annoyed that Bach is acting like that because whatever, fine. I know it's supposed to build the tension, whatever, cool. Then it's revealed kind of that Bach is going after Glinda. Now, it's in the papers everywhere, and he sees the newspaper like on her desk a little bit earlier, and he keeps it to him. And or folds it up and puts it under his like jacket, and he says this to her, and immediately she floats down from the air back into her chair. And it's a plea for, hey, you put this Munchkin travel permit thing into place on purpose because you did want me to leave. My life has been terrible. It's not fair to me. Like, you got to let me go, and if you don't let me go, I'm gonna go anyway. And Nessa's fed up, and she goes over to the Grimoire, which she doesn't know how to read, and starts flipping around, and then she starts reading out of the Grimoire. Elphaba says, hey, you're not even pronouncing these words right. You don't know what you're saying. And next thing we know, Bob's heart is just like stopping. It's shrinking. A lot of commotion. And then Elphaba kind of urges Nessa to get out of the room, and I'll handle it. Next thing you know, Elphaba says something to put his heart at ease, but the cast, like the spell that had been cast, can't be undone. And so we hear, a knock at the door, and it's not really a knock, it's an axe. It's an axe, and chopping from the other side of the door. Bach has now been turned into the Tin Man. Now, this was so frustrating to watch, but he's disoriented. He sees a reflection of himself. He goes to Nessa, and Nessa blames it on Elphaba. Now, again, we know that for Nessa, it only makes sense to blame Elphaba because everything else is getting blamed on her. But for me, I was just like, you bitch. Like, you blamed me. But okay, fine, cool. And Bach, or the Tin Man, runs out of there. Now, Elphaba says to Nessa before all of this that she's off to see the wizard, which obviously, a nod to the Wizard of Oz. But she really is off to see the wizard because she knows, like, she's got to go and at least, you know, say like goodbye to her friend and to confront the wizard. So she goes to see Glinda. They have a little hug, and Glinda is still convinced that the way that Elphaba has been doing things is just the wrong way, and that her having the social influence that she has, that she, like I can help, I can fix it, I can do anything. Like I can help you. Elphaba doesn't want the help. Understandable. Elphaba then goes to the wizard, and she confronts him. She's like, "Hey, like your time's up, bro. Like you can't keep doing all this stuff with your, with the trickery and with what you're doing with the animals. It's just unacceptable. So you got to raise up. You got to get up out of here, right?" To which the wizard, played by Jeff Goldblum, played wonderfully by Jeff Goldblum. It's just like, yeah, no, I mean, like, where am I gonna go? Like, really? We then see Glinda come up to one because she knew Elphaba was already up there, but two to try to talk to her, to try to appeal to her, to try to get her to like understand, hey, like all of this is a process, and so I got some pull around here. I can do something about this. Let me just try to help you. And then they sing Wonderful. Now, I didn't know this, but originally Wonderful was just a song sung by the wizard, but for the movie, Ariana Grande was added to it. So they kind of became a duet, which I thought was really interesting because I was reading some of the commentary from Stephen Schwartz and from Jon Chu, because of course I've been listening to the album all day because it just came out, but about how important it was to really show Glinda's place within their little, I guess like the Emerald City administration or whatever you would call it. But I thought they did a really great job on that song as well. Quirky, whimsical, musical, all that fun stuff. I may have forgotten to mention, this is on Glinda's wedding day. That's right. So all of the things that are about to take place are taking place just within the hours before Glinda's wedding. So Glinda is like, okay, well, I still got to get married, so you two can have a conversation. She goes to go get changed, and to get to the chapel to marry Fiyero. And Elphaba and Wizard are left, I guess, like in his little tower, and they're talking, and she's like, you need to prove yourself to me, because I can't really trust you. And she says, well, you need to let the flying monkeys go. Like it's my fault technically because I was reading the Grimmy and didn't know what I was talking about, but I'll take responsibility for it because again, the wizard's not taking responsibility for tricking her into reading the Grimmy. He didn't even know that she could read the Grimmy, by the way. He wasn't sure. He just like speculated, but I'll leave that alone. Anyway, he gives her a key. She unlocks the gate and the flying monkeys fly away. Now, they have made a deal to let the monkeys go, and allow the animals to come back. And the Elphaba has a moment with Chistery where he kind of like wants to talk to her, but he can't like mouth the words. Now this is because like he hasn't spoken yet, and so he can't quite get it out. But Elphaba can tell that something's wrong, and there is this big like circular tapestry along the wall in front of like a little doorway that Chistery points to, right? All the other flying monkeys go up. He flies up for a bit, comes back down because he's trying to communicate to Elphaba, hey, it's not just us. Then behind this tapestry or just big circular painting, I think, there are just dozens of caged animals. So this entire time, he had just been caging animals, as many cages as he could fit off in this little like corridor. So this is all happening. She finds this out. And just downstairs, Madame Morrible, who I guess is an ordained minister. I guess she's Minister Madame Morrible now. But she's ordained. Fiyero and Glinda are there, about to get married. Fanny and Shen Shen are there, like, probably fake crying. I guess they might have been real crying, because I think they might have been real friends. But they hear a little bit of a rumbling. Now, just upstairs, the wizard sees Elphaba in his little corridor, and he does the whole like, oh, I can explain, which Elphaba's like, no, you can't. You lied to me. You're a loser. I hate you. Um, you're also my father. Okay. Which she doesn't know. And he doesn't know either. But whatever. And you're a piece of shit and I don't like you. So no. And she says, she drops a line, and I hope I don't forget it, but she dropped a line that was pretty cool, like cold. She says, you once asked me what my heart's greatest desire was. And she said, it's to fight you until the day I die. I think that's the exact line. That was cold as shit. Like, Elphaba was a fucking gangster. But anywho, she just, with her power, she pops all of the locks and chains off of all of the cages. They all trample over the wizard, and then they run through the chapel to try to break free. Which was a really crazy scene, kind of reminiscent of Jumanji, but it's just maybe because I grew up in like the late 90s, early 2000s, whatever. We see the aftermath of this. Elphaba then kind of corners the wizard after he tries to run. Jeff Goldblum is so adorable. But she corners him with her magic broomstick right at his throat. Fiyero and the Emerald City Guard run up and they corner her, or so we think. Next thing you know, Fiyero is commanding the rest of the brigade to go get water for her. So Elphaba's like, oh, okay, cool. Nice to see you too. Fiyero grabs the broom. Then he tosses it to Elphaba. Just so, like, she's aware, hey, I'm on your side. I can't do the facade anymore. Here you go. Next thing you know, he's holding the gun to the wizard, makes the wizard get into this big circular cage, locks the key, turns it. Glinda's distraught, because I would be distraught if somebody ran out on my wedding as well. But she runs up. She's super surprised. She has no idea what's going on. And Fiyero tells her, I'm going with her. Like, her being Elphaba. Which is, like, gut-wrenching. Like, Glinda can't fathom it. She can't conceive it. Like, is this a spell that Elphaba put on Fiyero or something? It couldn't possibly be, because they haven't seen each other anyway. And I think to an extent, Glinda knows Elphaba's heart. I really believe that Glinda knows that what Elphaba is doing is not malicious at all. It's just, she's tired of, like, the BS. She's tired of the lies. And she's tired of going along with the status quo. So Glinda is wrecked. Fiyero, Elphaba escape. Madame Morrible comes up a little bit after they escape with, like, cake all along her face. Because, you know, that's what happens when you're a bad person and a bunch of animals trample all over you. And the wizard and Madame Morrible are trying to figure out what they're going to do. Glinda is completely distraught, though. And Glinda, with tears in her face, says her sister. Now, she's talking about Nessa Rose. This made my heart kind of dropped. Glinda says her sister. Like, you know, do something to her sister. Like, if you involve her sister, if you put her sister in danger, you got her. Which was just like, oh my God, my heart. But Glinda was right. Then Glinda does her reprise of I'm Not That Girl, which was like so sad to see. Because you start to see the facade kind of cracking a little bit. So you kind of feel sorry for her. But at the same time, she is kind of one of those like slightly delusional girls. And yeah. But also, again, like really great job from Ariana Grande. You know, and next we see Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero, Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, back in the woods, like in her like lair. I don't want to call it a lair because she's not a villain, but in the woods, in the nature. And they sing As Long As You're Mine. Now, again, not knowing the Broadway musical, this song, hearing them saying, like, I was just taken somewhere else, somewhere really, really beautiful. I was just like, holy crap, this song is amazing. So they did a really great job. And even though Glinda questions, like, the connection that they have at first, like, we know that it's a real, like, they really do have feelings for each other. And it's not just, like, an arranged type of thing like what Glinda and Fiyero had. So really great job. The scenery was really beautiful. Like it was a nighttime scene. And the moonlight is all pretty, and so just a really, really great job vocally, great job cinematically. They were literally floating in the air in each other's arms, and I thought that was really beautiful. Now we cut back to Madame Morrible, which okay, girl, we know you control the weather, but she took Glinda's advice and decides, yeah, like this is what I'm gonna do. This calls for or might call for a change in the weather. But Michelle Yeoh does some beautiful hand choreography. I won't mimic it because I can't do it, but she does this beautiful choreography and commands a cyclone to come out of the sky. If you know the Wizard of Oz, you know where I'm going with this, right? She calls this or commands it down, and it goes through a lot of the, like newly placed yellow brick in Munchkinland. Who do we see like trying to find Bach? It's Nessa Rose. So I do think that the connection that she felt with Bach was like genuine, but she probably didn't have any idea that she was pushing him away the way that she was. But I mean, imagine how Bach felt because he felt like he had to leave. But I think her truest heart was speaking out because when they realized that the cyclone was hitting, Nessa Rose went out to find him. And maybe kind of sort of a house fell on her, which is like super wild and like it's unfortunate, but now back at Elphaba's place, her little loft, LOL. She felt something really weird, and she explains it to Fiyero that way, like, you're not gonna believe this, but I think there's like a cyclone and a house spinning in the air, and I feel affected by this, and I can't understand why. But she feels like something's there. And she's right. The house has fallen onto Nessa Rose. And, Elphaba's like, okay, I gotta go. House on a broom. Like, gets there. And she tells Fiyero to kind of stay behind and just stay protected. But Fiero's love for her is like very, very real. And he's very, very loyal to her. And so, well, he's loyal in general, too. Like, he probably would have seen it through with Glinda because because that's probably what most people expected him to do, being a captain. But Elphaba goes to Munchkinland, and then we kind of cut to the morning by the time she gets there. Sun's rising over the tulips, over like all of the beautiful, and a lot of those were actually really planted too, so it was really like beautiful to see. And Glinda's there, giving what might be like a real apology, maybe not. And we hear just a little bit before that, skipping along, is Dorothy. So we don't know who Dorothy is because she's not as like heavy of a hitter in the film because it's not really about her, but it features her. So all we see are those silver shoes on her little feet as she's, skipping down the yellow brick road. And Elphaba goes to say her last respects to Nessa. And she says to Glinda, well, hey, you gave this little girl my shoes. Like, who the hell told you to give, that was my alarm. Who the hell told you to give, like, my shoes to that girl? Glinda's like, okay, well, I guess I'm not the only person, like, taking things that don't belong to them. And I was like, ooh. And then they have a little fight scene, which one is just so cute, but in particular it was so silly in the best way because Cynthia Erivo does the like cackle, and Ariana Grande goes like, where'd you get that? So that was a really cute moment between the two of them. Now because Fiyero followed Elphaba to try to keep her safe, he kind of comes up a little bit after their little like squabble or whatever to kind of like break them up, but to also make sure that Elphaba is like safe, right? Now, keep in mind, just a little before he got there, the rest of like the Emerald City guards or whatever came to break up the fight. They're coming to get Elphaba though, because it doesn't matter that like Glinda like jumped on to Elphaba. They want Elphaba, of course, and that's when we see the betrayal and the heartbreak in Elphaba's face. Because I think Glinda says accidents happen or something alluding to that, and Elphaba just knows that it had something to do with her. Now, Glinda's not sure that it had anything to do with Madame Morrible, but we'll kind of get to that a little bit later because I was like, oh my God, like, Glinda, you said it. You told Madame Morrible to, like, do something. Um, but Fiyero then puts a gun to Glinda, and he's like, no, you let her go, you take me. Now, one thing to mention, back at the, I keep calling it, like, Elphaba's lair, but I'll just call it that for lack of a better word, okay? Back at Elphaba's lair, when they were talking, Fiyero encourages her to go hide out in Kiyomoko. Now, if you don't know what Kiyomoko is, they feature it in the Wizard of Oz, and it looks a little bit different, but it's where like the guards are, all that stuff. But it's also a place in Oz, like a castle in Oz. So after Fiyero is taken away, against Glinda's wishes, that's where Elphaba goes. So Elphaba goes to Kiyomoko. Now, this is where no good deed goes unpunished. So I'm sitting in the theater just ready to like mumble the words because I don't know them yet. But damn it, Cynthia, that song was so beautifully done. But anyway, she gets to Kiyomoko. The flying monkeys are around her because now they kind of understand her position and they understand her heart, right? And that grimoire cracks open and she starts doing her thing and she starts chanting and singing and recounting all of the memories from Shiz, like when she first met Fiyero, and even back to like when she met Glinda and the friendship that they had. I mean, it was Glinda and Elphaba, Fiyero, Nessa Rose, and Bach, and there was so much there when she was younger that she could probably understand in a brief moment why Nessa wanted to go back to the Ozdas, because you're going back to a time where things were like okay for you, but it just wasn't. And she's chanting specifically because she wants to make sure that nothing happens to Fiyero. She doesn't want, may he not bleed, may he never die. And yeah, but no good deed. That song, as soon as I'm done with this video, I'm gonna listen to it again because I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, she sings that, and we start to see like, he's in a cornfield, so we see images of that. So if you kind of aren't paying attention, he ends up becoming the Scarecrow. There were little things that kind of gave it away. Him feeling brainless. Glinda asks him if he lost his mind, like right before he goes away with Elphaba. So you kind of saw it coming. But anyway, now as you can imagine, tensions were pretty high there, especially because Glinda immediately felt bad when Elphaba brings up like, oh, like did you did you have something to do with this? Like, and Glinda doesn't quite know what to make of it. Glinda goes to Madame Morrible, and she says to Madame Morrible, like, hey, what is that? Do accidents really happen, or like, what the hell's going on? And more or less, Madame Morrible lets it slip, like, hey, whether I did it or did not do it, which she did, you just be pretty, you smile, and you shut up, which is like, oh my God, right? So after that, I think that's when the facade finally broke. Like, I really think that's when it broke. Now, I do want to jump a little bit back here. So they get back to Emerald City, and everyone's on high alert because of what has just kind of transpired, right? We see Bach as the Tin Man, kind of leading the charge with the Cowardly Lion. And he's convinced, unfortunately, that it was Elphaba, right? And Ethan Slater did a really great job too, because there was a lot of emotion too. I know that with Bach, he didn't necessarily have a whole bunch of lines here, but I think that he did a lot. He made a lot out of what he had, because there's something in a grit in his voice, and like his facial expression just seemed scorned and betrayed and genuinely hurt. So Ethan did a really fantastic job as well in the March of the Witch Hunters. But this is all happening. Glinda's above, and she just doesn't know what to make of everything. So then we get to The Girl in the Bubble. The Girl in the Bubble is also a new song. I think it's the last one. There's No Good Deed, Wicked Witch of the East, and then the girl in the bubble. Ariana does a beautiful job. And when I say the facade cracking, the reason I keep bringing it up is because, at least when I was observing it, you can tell when she's singing in her operatic range, and then when she's kind of singing from the belt. And there's a scene where she's sitting on the steps and she's contemplating everything, and she's belting like that girl in the bubble. I can't do it because I'm not a singer, but you know what I'm. But you know how she sounds when she's really in there, and I believe that that's Glinda cracking. Like I think that it's something where she doesn't want to do this anymore. Like she needs to be like for real OG Glinda, not Diet Glinda anymore. So she goes to her closet, excuse me, and there's a black pair of boots that I think Elphaba left. She grabs those boots. She gets a black cloak over her little beautiful sparkly blue and pink sequin gown, and she hops on a horse and she's like, I know where Elphaba's going to be, or I'm pretty sure I know where Elphaba's going to be. Let me get to Kiamoko. Now, at the end of No Good Deed Goes Unpunished, or No Good Deed, she sends the Flying Monkeys to go get Dorothy, because Dorothy's got her sister's shoes on. They're able to get Dorothy. Elphaba throws her in a cell, and she's like, hey, get them damn shoes off, because I'm not finna be playing with you. Glinda gets there. They have a tender moment. I said this in my last video about this, but I believe that they took the tenderness of like the first time that they met in part 2 specifically, and then For Good, and then like the second time that they saw each other and the turmoil in that, and I think that they put it all together in For Good. They did such a beautiful job. We know that they sound amazing together anyway. Like that's kind of like just, they can't help but sound amazing. But I felt like the emotion was really there. And like I said, you could tell that they just were so torn. They just were so, no, they weren't even torn. They were kind of torn apart. Ooh, yeah, they were more so torn apart. They knew what they needed to do, and even though things didn't necessarily work out for them in the specific ways that they thought that they wanted them to, Elphaba was like, hey, like, what else? There's nothing else I can even do. I've tried to reason with all of you. I've tried to tell you that the wizard is lying. And Glinda's like, well, I didn't realize I was a puppet. So Glinda is actually trying to appeal to Elphaba in that moment. Like, hey, I'll tell everybody. I'll tell, like, all of Oz that you're an awesome person and that the wizard's lying, because maybe I didn't want to see that the wizard was lying. And Elphaba says, like, no, there's no need to clear my name. Don't even bother. And so we kind of skip a little bit further. Elphaba ends up letting Dorothy out. Now, mind you, to keep up appearances, which they are both very familiar with, Elphaba kind of tells Glinda, hey, just go in this closet. Don't worry about it. Like, we may never see each other again, but I love you, my friend. And we see Ariana Grande beautifully, though. Like she just was so, like, raw with emotion. And you can kind of tell. But she's peeking through the other side of the wooden door, and she sees Elphaba's shadow getting ready for Dorothy with a bucket of water. We see that shadow, and we see Dorothy throw the bucket of water on her, and Elphaba screams, and Glinda just is trying to muffle like all of the sadness that she feels, and Dorothy grabs the broom. She's on her way back to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, which, LOL, like, what Glinda's about to do is, like, really fantastic. So she goes, once Dorothy's gone and, like, the coast is clear, she opens the door, she sees Elphaba's hat, and she's so torn up. And then Chistery comes back, and he gives her a green bottle. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll know that green bottle was a memento, like, from the elixir that he was drinking. And by he, I mean the wizard. It was a keepsake that Elphaba had, because Elphaba never knew, like, who her real dad was. She just knew that that Frex was, like, her dad, but I feel like she always knew that Frex was not her real dad, because why else is she green? And she was right, but she just couldn't prove why. But she always kept that little green bottle. Chestery gives that to her, and Glinda is able to, like, put 2 and 2 together. So Glinda goes to the wizard as quickly as she can, right? She's got to hop on her horse and get back to the wizard before Dorothy gets there with the broomstick. Or the broom, excuse me. And she goes to the wizard and is like, hey, what's this green little ball? Right? Like, she's dead. She's dead now. And he asks her, oh, do you have the broom? No, I don't have the broom. That's my homegirl. She's dead now. So she shows him this green little bottle, and he immediately freaks out. Because he didn't know that the lady he more or less couldn't care whether or not she was alive or dead was his daughter. And one thing he always said, he wanted a family. So yeah, he did all this. Now, like, she's gone. So Glinda is like, hey, wizard, you need to hop in that red and white big ass circus balloon and get up out of here. Because we're not doing this anymore. Which he does, because Glinda's got some assistance from the flying monkeys. Once that kind of starts to take place, she goes right up to Madame Morrible's office and says, hey, come to the window, come look at this. And we see the wizard, and he's pretty much gonna go, right? Which will be interesting to see what Dorothy, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow would end up doing in a continuation, because in the Wizard of Oz, it's like her imagination. But anyway, Madame Morrible sees this and she's like, oh damn, Glinda ain't playing. And like, Madame Morrible has been kind of shitty to her the whole time. Like, not even just like mean or like throwing shade, but like really mean to her for no reason. But Glinda calls her bluff and she's like, hey, it's some recently vacated cages that you can go get locked in because you've been doing all this crap and I'm not doing it anymore. So Glinda has also freed herself from the confinements or confines and the shackles of tyranny, for crying out loud. Because the wizard's gonna go off to wherever he goes, and Madame Morrible's gonna be locked up some darn way. Then we actually have a little moment where Glinda puts on her pink dress, which I think is significant because there's a little scene toward the beginning where we see Glinda as a little girl and pink is her favorite color. And she wishes that she was like truly, truly magical. And her mom was like, well, sweetie, like all you need is for people to like you, right? So we see Glinda in that pink dress that she wore in part one, right? Where she goes back to Munchkin Land. But again, I think it's significant because the addition of the blue was really more so to tone it down for her, I believe it was. She was in alignment with Madame Morrible and the wizard, and I personally think green for her would have been too obvious. Like if they tried to add green into Glinda's costume, I think that would have been like, well, obviously, because but I think that blue was like the perfect little addition. So we actually go back to the pink because that's what she wants, and now we're seeing Glinda sort of fully realized because we know part one is really about Elphaba, part two is really about Glinda. And she goes with the grimoire that Elphaba gave her before she had to do what she had to do. And she goes up there and she's like, I just wish I had just some kind of sign. And next thing you know, the grimoire opens because, oh yeah, on the other side of the rainbow is Elphaba. That's right. So it was all like a ruse. So what Glinda didn't see and what Glinda can't know is that Elphaba's still alive. There was like a little hidden passageway that Fiyero kind of gave a little hint to earlier in the movie. And the Scarecrow walks in that Elphaba, in Elphaba's defense, she accidentally turned him into a Scarecrow because she didn't want him to die. Okay, so let's give Elphaba a break. Okay, she's had a hard life. And he goes and he helps her out of the little secret passage and they have a moment. Earlier in the movie, he tells her that she's beautiful and she says, you don't have to lie to me. And he says, it's just another way of saying things. And so she tells him that he's beautiful and he goes, you don't have to lie to me. So it was really cute. And I hate all that lovey-dovey crap, but that was really cute. But again, like I said, Glinda cannot know. She's not supposed to know. She's supposed to think that Elphaba is gone. And there's a scene where Elphaba goes with Fiyero to leave Kyomoko and to go off beyond Oz. And she almost goes back to grab her hat, like the little pointy witch's hat, and she's like, "No, like I don't need it anymore because I know I'm not wicked. They've called me wicked. They've called me all these things. In the book, they call her some really like rough stuff, but they don't. You know what I'm saying? But they leave and they go beyond Oz. Now we don't know where they're gonna land, like or end up like after this, but there's a beautiful, beautiful moment where she said, or Elphaba says that she wishes that Glinda could know, but she knows that she can't. And from the top of the tower where they sang "Defying Gravity," um, the Grim Read flips open, so all the pages are turning and stuff. And there's a rainbow that shoots up. So literally, like they're both somewhere over the rainbow, like respectively. So yeah, I thought that was great. And then there's a little cut to the beginning of Wicked Part 1, which is where, after you're singing like no one mourns the wicked. And Glinda tells the people of Munchkinland that she really does want to try to be good. Like, she knows she's not perfect now. She knows her shit stinks. And she's done enough and made enough decisions that she was like, you know what? I don't have some tyrannical piece of crap telling me what to do, or some really, really mean, beautifully elegant lady telling me what I need to do. I can just be me now. And I can actually be good. I can do some good now. And then she tells all of the animals to come out. And it's a really nice moment because, again, she was able to achieve what she wanted to achieve, or at least she's starting to. And then she's also combining that with what Elphaba wanted, which was animals to just be free and for them to live in Oz without any fear. So really great movie. I hope I didn't go too fast, and I hope I didn't miss anything super significant. But if you watched it, if you made it all the way through, thank you so much. Even if you didn't make it all the way through this movie, oh my God, this review, thank you anyway. It means a lot to me. I'm a new creator. I'm still figuring out the hang of this. So, yeah, thank you. Just if you even watched like 10 seconds of this, thank you for doing it. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. If you comment, don't show your ass in my comments, okay? Be kind, be respectful, all of that fun stuff. Because I have time, okay? Other than that, thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see y'all probably next Monday after It Welcome to Derry episode 5. I know that's like a weird departure, like Wicked for Good and then like It Welcome to Derry. But I'm a very like eclectic person and I like a lot of shit, okay? Peace out.